So I'm Leah. I'm a master gardener, and I'm here at Harvest for the Hungry Garden to talk about dirt and soil and how they're different and how you can support having great topsoil. So let's talk about terms first. Topsoil is actually a thin layer all around the landmass, or most of it that's on the earth, and it's very nutritious and it's very precious, and we need to do everything we can to support it. Dirt, on the other hand, you need to dig deeper. When you excavate for a construction site or a hole, that's the dirt that's a little deeper down. And it doesn't have the same rich components. It's basically sand, silt, clay, maybe some rocks and pebbles, and it can't really support life. It doesn't have the nutrients available yet until it gets mixed, which I'll show you, into all the other things that make it into a part of a soil. So dirt, for example, can't support plant life. If you water it, the water goes right through because there's not organic matter to kind of hold it there. So dirt is a component of soil and a very important component. And I'm going to simulate mixing up some soil so that you remember everything that's in soil. And of course, we're going to start with a whole bunch of dirt. So you do need a lot of dirt in order to make good soil. And you don't always have to mix it the way I am. It's usually right there in place. So you put your dirt in, and then you have a bunch of other things. You have lots of plant life, and a lot of the plants just fall and then they decompose because insects and worms come along and chew them and spit them out or spread them, and then bacteria and fungus go to work to make them available to plants. You also can have woody objects, roots and other objects, and then you have all of those earthworms and other nematodes and insects that we're busy chewing. Those die, and then they also have their bodies added to the mix as they decompose, and the bacteria and the fungi also go to work on them. So their body parts are in there. Then there's a special kind of fungus. There are all sorts of fungi in soil, but there's a special kind that's called mycorrhizal that lives in the root zones of plants. And it's kind of like this big tangled network that can go on for a long way. And from the plants, the mycorrhizal fungi get carbohydrates, and in return they give sugars and moisture, water, to the plants. So it's a great symbiotic relationship, and those are everywhere throughout the soil and really, really important. You also have bacteria that are busy eating up whatever is available to them. And then all of those animals that we talked about, nematodes and earthworms included, which are going through the soil and making tunnels so that air and water can penetrate, all of them leave their droppings, and we call that frass. And that's a really important and nutrient-rich aspect of the soil, so we're definitely going to add that. Of course, over time, nature does all this way better than we can do. Higher quality ingredients, eons of time, so that sun and rain can kind of work their decomposing powers, and just a much higher quality than the pretend soil that I'm making here. But eventually, you have these tiny ecosystems filled with microfauna who are exchanging food webs and creating nutrients. They also sequester carbon. They make Earth habitable, and it's a wonderful thing to build up great soil using all of these, or letting nature use these. So how do we do this? How do we get our soil to support us and trillions of other microorganisms so that we're also supporting the Earth? The first thing is to not till. Just leave it alone. Let all of these things play their role without digging into the soil unless absolutely necessary, for example, to plant a plant. And letting nature take her course is really the best way to just let the soil build. It's also really important to remember that the biodiversity in soil can be, in just a handful of soil, can be more than the biodiversity in an entire rainforest. So all of this stuff is happening at a micro level beneath our feet. And the best thing we can do for ourselves, our families, all of the families of species that live on Earth, is to let it happen, leave it alone, and accept that we have a wonderful resource in our soil right under our feet.